everyone, welcome to Showcase 3 Video 2. You're about to see all the entrants for our third showcase, which was to create a flag for Antarctica. 26 of you will be participating, so competition is going to be ferocious. And don't forget, we also have the Flag This Ghost flag, so you'll be seeing 27 flags in total. Because of the ghost flag and to make things more fun, we're not going to reveal who the creators of the flags are in this video, so you won't know which flag is ours. But don't worry, in the next video when we reveal the results, we will reveal all the creators. And just before we reveal the flags, the link to the ranking form is in the video description where you can rank each flag on a scale of 0 to 10. So let's check out the flags. Here is the first entry. The proportion of this flag is 3 to 5. The flag is divided vertically as 3 to 1 to 2. The design also includes crux, more commonly known as the Southern Cross on the navy blue field. The following is the symbolism. Navy blue represents the night sky, white represents the icy soil of the continent, and light blue represents the surrounding oceans. The Southern Cross represents the fact that Antarctica is entirely in the southern hemisphere, as the constellation is most visible in that hemisphere. Next is entry 2. White represents the desert that covers the whole of the continent. The Southern Cross represents the southern hemisphere, while the snowflakes represent the snow. Now for the third entry. It's a simplified version of the Antarctic Treaty System flag. The circle represents the continent of Antarctica, and it is white to symbolize ice and snow. The blue field represents the ocean surrounding the continent, and the black lines are there to represent the convergence of latitudes and longitudes at the South Pole. They are black in honor of the national animal of this land, the penguin. Next, we have our fourth entry. The blue represents the water, the white star represents the snow. The reason it has 6 points is because snowflakes commonly have 6 sides. The white and black stripes represent the animal life that lives in Antarctica. Next, we have entry 5, which has the name Agitratna, which is Antarctica spelled backwards. The sun symbolizes the sunrise, which takes place in the span of 2 months. The white symbolizes the land of Antarctica, while the blue next to it represents the ocean. The penguins symbolize the mass migration of penguins, which take place every March. Next is entry 6, which is called the United Alliance of Antarctica. The border represents the isolation of Antarctica from other countries. The rhombus represents the cold, empty, and vast land of Antarctica. The 4 stars represent the main 4 places that people inhabit: McMurdo Station, the Stars Village, Amundsen Scott, South Pole Station, and Rothera. Next is entry 7, and the flag is called Cold Weather Land. The blue symbolizes the ocean, and the white symbolizes ice. Entry 8 is called La Trietole, or in English, the Tri-Starred. Blue symbolizes the surrounding Southern Ocean and the skies above being every possible shade of blue. White represents the ice and snow covering the Antarctic. The stars represent the 3 main stars of the Triangulum Astrale constellation, namely Atria, Betria, and Gatria. Next is the 9th entry. The white stripe at the bottom represents the dwindling ice covering most of the landscape of Antarctica. For half the year, the South Pole lies in the darkness of polar night, and the other half of the year, it is one long polar day. And so the dark and blue fields represent the sky during these periods. The dark shade is not full black, but has the RGB code 141211, representing 14 December 1911, the day humans first reached the South Pole. The penguin represents the biodiversity that exists even in such harsh conditions, but is endangered due to human activity. Blue also represents peace, as Antarctica is the only continent that has never seen war. Next is entry number 10. The 7 shades of blue represents the 7 countries that colonized a bit of Antarctica: the UK, France, Norway, Argentina, Chile, Australia, and New Zealand. The 7-pointed star also represents the 7 colonizer countries. Blue represents water and white represents snow and ice. Next up is entry 11. This flag has a proportion of 1 to 1, making it a square. The white lines and circle convey the lines of latitude and longitude and the fact Antarctica is located at the south of the planet. They also represent a compass, and it's also a depiction of the steering wheel of a ship, to pay homage to the brave men who explored this harsh continent. The white represents the ice and snow. Blue represents the Southern Ocean that surrounds Antarctica, as well as the fact that during the winter months the continent is plunged into constant darkness. Orange represents the summer months when the sun never sets. Orange is also used for practical reasons because orange can be seen more easily than other colors in the white Antarctic landscape. Next, we have entry 12. The flag conveys the rumors that there are huge birds that look like pigeons in the far south that live on ice. Next up is entry 13. The darker blue represents the water, while the lighter blue represents the sky. The white symbolizes all the ice. In the middle is the South Pole with an iceberg on top. Next, we have entry 14. Blue represents the oceans that border Antarctica. White represents the snow and ice of Antarctica. The mountains represent the three biggest mountains in Antarctica, which are Vinson Massif, Mount Erebus, and Mount Sipple. The four-pointed star represents the four directions. Next is entry 15 and is an attempt to unify the true South flag and the Graham-Bartram flag. White represents snow and long days. Navy blue represents long nights. The simplified map of Antarctica represents the continent itself. The compass that is pointed south represents Antarctica being south, and it resembles a mountain or iceberg casting a shadow, a homage to Antarctica's landscape. Next, we have entry 16. Blue symbolizes the night sky, green symbolizes Aurora Australis, white represents penguins and ice. The design on the upper hoist and below the green stripe represents a slightly simplified map of Antarctica. The boomerang shape below the Antarctica map represents south, which is the southernmost continent on Earth. The large triangle represents the famous and highest mountain in Antarctica, Mount Vinson. The flag was slightly influenced by Dave Hamilton's flag of Antarctica. Now for entry 17. Blue symbolizes the bright blue sky. Light gray symbolizes the snow and ice, while dark gray represents the mountains and wildlife in Antarctica. Next, we have entry 18. It's a depiction of a sundog, which is a phenomenon in freezing climates. The technical portion of the fly end is in expedition orange and features a stylized A for Antarctica. The orange colors make the flag more visible in a blizzard or when exposed to blindness caused from the sun reflecting off the ice and snow. Next up is entry 19. On a dark blue field that represents the pure, unpolluted night sky of Antarctica is a light blue stripe to symbolize the ice that covers nearly all the surface of the continent, as well as a dark blue stripe below to represent the immensity of the ocean surrounding it. The three combined convey the idea of a remote, pure, untouched, and peaceful land, unpolluted by humans. In the sky, we can see the Southern Cross to indicate the location of Antarctica, which combines with a bright light green Aurora Australis, another easily recognizable symbol of the continent. If you take a closer look, you can see that the aurora is in the shape of an electrocardiogram. This was done to represent all life present in a place so remote and inhospitable, yet beautiful like the emperor penguin or the scientists that lived there while doing their research. The choice of colors was done to keep coherence with the fact that Antarctica is remote and cold. Therefore, all the colors chosen are also cold, and the shades chosen to get the best contrast possible while remaining cold. Dark blue for dark sky and deep ocean, light blue for frozen water and stars far away in the night sky, and special green for the aurora. Next up is entry 20. Black represents the penguins, the most common inhabitants of Antarctica. White represents the ice and snow that covers the beautiful continent, and blue represents the cold oceans that surround it. Next is entry 21. The equal fields of dark and light blue symbolize the 6 months of darkness and 6 months of daylight Antarctica has throughout its year, respectively. The 7 points of the zigzag represent the 7 countries who claim portions of Antarctica as their territory. The white symbolizes the snow, ice, and glaciers ever present on the continent. All the colors together represent the general cold climate of Antarctica. Next is entry 22, which is called Nature's Galley. The galley with an emperor penguin on its sails represents how it's the local wildlife that is in control of Antarctica, not humans. The white represents ice and snow, and the water represents the cold southern ocean, the home of most Antarctic animals. Next we have entry 23. The 6 white stars represent the other 6 continents of the world, which from Antarctica's view, they are around it. The golden star represents Antarctica itself, and centered, showing it as the center of the South Pole. Dark blue represents the South Antarctic Ocean that is around Antarctica. Light blue represents the glaciers that fill the landscape. The white represents the snow and ice sheets that cover the landscape. Next we have entry 24. The light blue field represents oceans and how Antarctica is surrounded by them. The white layer represents ice. The light blue stripe and the white stripe also represent the frozen ground of Antarctica and how it is covered in ice. The large dark blue stripe at the top represents the sky. The blue is of a darker shade as to represent the 4 months of complete darkness over Antarctica during the winter. The triangular white objects toward the fly side of the flag represents mountains, as Antarctica is home to many mountain ranges. Next is entry 25. The white border symbolizes the outside world. Blue symbolizes the Southern Ocean, while the white 8-pointed star represents Antarctica itself, with the 8-pointed star symbolizing a compass because you can go anywhere from here. Next is entry 26. The design was inspired by the Estonian and Ukrainian flags because those represent their nation's environmental landscapes. Sky blue on top represents the daylight sky. Ice blue in the center represents the frozen landscape, and ocean blue represents the ocean. The Southern Cross constellation is on the fly side, which is yellow in contrast to white or red on other national flags. The Southern Cross is there because it's the first constellation one sees in Antarctica's night sky. It also reflects hope for those in Antarctica, plus immigration and navigation to and from South America, as well as Oceania for millions or billions of years by people and animals. On the hoist side is a snow-white triangle. Within the triangle sits 3 more bands, the center being yellow and the others being gray. The gray bands represent the Rocky Mountain terrain and minerals that exist on Antarctica. The color yellow symbolizes life, reflection, and endurance, which is boosted by the image of a Cryolophosaurus's head. The cold crest lizard itself represents the pride and glory the continent once had in its heyday as the beast looks forward to the future on the horizon. As the cold crest was once the king of beasts in Antarctica. The triangle itself represents the wind, as it usually blows in from the west, due to the Earth's rotation. So the blizzards are expected to follow this pattern as well. This flag also has a reverse side. The layout is that of a mountain under a quite literal daylight sky, with an ocean right below and an ice sheet underneath that, along with a black abyss right at the bottom. The mountain represents dexterity, as well as an allegory to the tip of the iceberg. The sun represents warmth, life, and hope. The ice represents cold, death, and sorrow. The black abyss represents not only the depths of the ocean, but also mystery. What could be found there? What creatures live or used to live there? Is there treasure? Is there oil? The world may never know, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't give up. Finally, we have entry 27. White represents snow, peace, brightness, development. The blue bands represent ice, water, and cooperation between scientists. The Southern Cross symbolizes the Southern Hemisphere. So those were all the flags. Be sure to have your say by ranking all the flags on the ranking form. The closing date for voting is March 19th, 2022. We will try to get the results video published as soon as we can after the closing date. The flag with the highest score will have their flag reviewed in that video. Best of luck, everyone, and may the best flag win.